Don't we all have that one friend who seems to know an insufferable amount about a bunch of random topics? That one friend who chimes in with the odd and sometimes incredibly disturbing little snippet of knowledge out of nowhere? Hi, my name is Carly, and if you don't already have that friend, congratulations. Now you do. I delight in researching anything and everything that piques my curiosity in the least bit. And as my husband has pointed out, we carry a mini supercomputer in our pockets every single day. So anytime I have the slightest curiosity about any given thing, from how wine gets its price to the difference between a Yeti and a Wendigo, I just look it up. Welcome to I'm Already Looking It Up. Let's sit down, relax, maybe have a drink or two, and learn a few things. Hello, and welcome to another episode of I'm Already Looking It Up, the podcast where I, your host, look up whatever random topic I feel like talking about and tell you, my lovely listeners, all about it. So without further ado, let's get started. So today, or for this episode's topic, I recently did an episode on how Scream, the movie, is based on some true events that took place. And, you know, there's nothing scarier than when you're watching a spooky movie and the first thing that shows up on screen is based on a true story. At least in my opinion. It makes the movie a little more real, except for the ones that are more paranormal, but, you know, it kind of depends on that one. But, I find that to be very frightening. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about other scary movies that are based on true stories. And so I have a list here, 25 of them. And we're just going to go through them for funsies. This may not be like a super long episode or anything, but I thought it would be fun. I know spooky season technically over, but if you know me, you know spooky season is always going on in my heart. So it doesn't really matter. All right, so we're going to talk about 25 films inspired by real life events. Now, I do like the way they have they have said that inspired by real life events, not necessarily based on true stories, because it's a little bit different. If it's based on a true story, you're kind of expecting some kind of like a retelling of an actual event that happened. Inspired by real life events is a little different. Like I mentioned with Scream, the way the movie goes is not exactly akin to what the serial killer actually did necessarily. It's all just kind of inspired by the idea of someone coming into your house and murdering you. So there you go. And that's kind of what I like about in the inspired by wordage here. So, over the years, audiences have been frightened by varied horror films on screen, and while after some jump scares, these audiences can be reminded it's only a film. However, things can take a dark turn when it's discovered that the stories are actually based on real-life events. Whether being terrorized by a knife-wielding killer or possessed by a demonic spirit, a variety of real-life crimes and events acted as inspiration for filmmakers and screenwriters. So we're going to start with the very first one, Fire in the Sky, released in 1993. Fire in the Sky retells the tale of Travis Walton, a man who claims to have been abducted by aliens on November 5th of 1975, while heading home to Snowflake, Arizona with a few colleagues. Walton was missing for 5 days before returning. He published his experiences in a book called The Walton Experience, which was later published and titled Fire in the Sky following the release of the movie. There you go. Never seen it. Actually, I'm not sure how good it is. I've never really heard anything about that one. So, The Amityville Horror, released in 1979. The Amityville Horror draws on real-life experiences from the Lutz family during the 28 days they spent in their Amityville, New York home at 112 Ocean Avenue. 13 months before the family moved in, Ronald DeFeo Jr. had murdered 6 members of his family in the house. The Lutz's experiences launched a series of books and is the basis for 11 films. Daniel Lutz, the eldest of the Lutz children, spoke about his experiences publicly for the first time in the documentary My Amityville Horror, released in 2012. So, that's another documentary I'm going to have to put on the list. I know when I did the Scream episode, the documentary was Lights, Camera, Action, Scream, I think, and it was all about the making of the movie and talked about that, so I'm going to have to put that one on the list as well. So the next one is A Nightmare on Elm Street, released in 1984. Good old Freddy Krueger. Wes Craven's 1984 slasher film centers on a killer who stalks his prey while they're sleeping. It was in an interview with The Vulture for the film's 30th anniversary. The late Craven shared that the film's premise was inspired by newspaper articles from the Los Angeles Times about young male Southeast Asian refugees who died in their sleep. Many men would reportedly refuse to sleep because of the nightmares that they feared would lead to death, with a total of 26 men dying in their sleep in 1981. That one will be, I might have to put that on my list as something to look into, because that event is definitely very interesting. Okay, the next movie we've got is Annabelle, 2014. Annabelle is my least favorite adaptation of a true, quote-unquote, true story. And there's a reason why, which I'll explain after I read the synopsis here. The cursed doll Annabelle was first introduced in The Conjuring 2013, and later the focus of a separate franchise with the films Annabelle 2014, Annabelle Creation 2017, Annabelle Comes Home 2019. The doll is based off a Raggedy Ann doll that was gifted to a young nurse, but after a string of mysterious events occurred, including a traumatic experience with the nurse's boyfriend, the nurse and her friend invited over a medium, Lorraine Warren, with a message under her glass case reading, Oh, it cut out one of the sentences at the bottom here. Okay, well, the doll is now in a museum. I know that for a fact, but they invited over a medium who said some stuff about the doll and blah, blah, blah. But now she is in a museum under a glass case with a message reading, "Warning, positively do not open." Now, Annabelle, look, I love paranormal stuff, and the idea of a haunted Raggedy Ann doll is actually kind of creepy to me, just because it's, yes, most dolls from that time period would be emotionless and in their face, but I don't know, I feel like Raggedy Ann would be kind of creepy, just because of the fact that she is, quite literally like a rag doll. She's just, So, but that is my least favorite one, just because it is so blown out of proportion in the movies that and most of the Conjuring series is like this. Any of you who know or have listened to this podcast for a while, you know that my favorite ghost hunters in the world are Ryan and Shane from, now they do Watcher, but they used to do BuzzFeed Unsolved. And I love them, don't get me wrong. The one critique I have of Shane, or of Ryan, and I don't know if he's like this now, but he used to be, he used to really believe in the Warrens, or at least it always seemed like it. I could be wrong. And that is my one thing, is, I don't like the Warrens. I think they're scammers, and they're just trying to make money off of people's issues and stuff, and I don't enjoy that. So, but I don't know. They do have the museum where Annabelle is now kept. I believe both Ed and Lorraine Warren have passed away. I know for sure. I think Ed has. Not to speak ill of the dead, but also to speak ill of the dead. I don't, anything that they got involved in, just, that I've heard of, has just felt way overblown. So, that's just me. I just don't enjoy Annabelle just because I've never even seen the movies. I don't know how scary they are. But I just don't enjoy the story. I think it's ridiculous. That is one of those paranormal stories where I'm like, I don't know about that. Anyway, so moving on from that little rant, the next one we have is Winchester, which was released in 2018, and if you are a history buff at all, you know that Winchester, Sarah Winchester, her house is one of the most haunted houses in the world. Helen Mirren stars as heiress Sarah Winchester in the supernatural thriller directed by Michael and Peter Spierig. The 2018 film Winchester is based off the true story of the Winchester Mystery House, a historic landmark in San Jose, California, and the residence of the late Sarah Winchester. The house has remained a mystery for its renovations and paranormal activity reportedly taking place there. I almost said thereafter. Reportedly taking place there. After Winchester's infant daughter died of a childhood illness and her husband from tuberculosis, she moved to San Jose, where she began renovation on an 8-room farmhouse that continued up until her death in 1922. As detailed on the Winchester Mystery House's website, the house has 160 rooms, including 40 bedrooms, 40 staircases, 13 bathrooms, 6 kitchens, 10,000 window panes, 2,000 doors, 52 skylights, 47 fireplaces, 3 elevators, 2 basements, and then it cuts off at just 1. I don't know what that could be. But yeah. I don't like that these got cut off, but that's fine, I guess. So yeah, the Winchester house. I've never seen this movie either. There's honestly me and my husband last night watched a couple scary movies. We watched The Witch, and then we watched Hereditary, which I before that had only seen The Witch once with him and kind of now love it. It's becoming one of my favorite kind of spooky movies to watch. But also I'm realizing how I have not seen a ton of scary movies, or movies that would be considered scary movies. I think I've seen, I don't know, I have a hard time with them, because sometimes I'm like, I don't really want to watch that. It doesn't seem, like, I love the spooky stuff, but scary movies are just not really, like, my biggest thing. I love Scream, don't get me wrong, but other than that, it's kind of like, meh. But I need to open up that value a little more. So, all right. But I would like to see this just because I love the Winchester Mystery House, and I would really love to visit that someday. All right. Deliver Us from Evil, released in 2014. Eric Bana portrays real New York cop Ralph Sarchi, who encountered paranormal activity while working on crimes in the city. This is director Scott Derrickson's second film based on real events. It really doesn't tell me any more than that. So, but Eric Bana, good looking man. All right, we got The Conjuring in 2013. Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga play Ed and Lorraine Warren, demonologists known for investigating the Lutz family. The Conjuring draws on a previous case of theirs that involved a creepy doll. Wilson and Farmiga continued to star in the Conjuring universe, reprising the roles for The Conjuring 2 and The Conjuring The Devil Made Me Do It, 2016 and 2021, respectively. I legitimately, again, just have no interest in seeing these. I guess maybe I should at some point, but you know, 'tis what it is. I should probably watch Annabelle too, but dang it really cut off a bunch of these, because like this one is The Possession, which I don't know a lot. Well, I've heard the story before, but it doesn't have the full paragraph. That's really annoying. Hold on, let's see if I can find the actual article, as I saved it as a PDF and it did not. Alright, 25 movies based on true stories. See if I can find the actual article here. Where is Hollywood Reporter is who did this. Hollywood Reporter. Because I actually do want to read most of these. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here we go. If it will load. Okay. So what was, what cut off? Or we did that one. Amityville Horror. We did all of that. Nightmare on Elm Street we got. Okay, so yeah, there's a whole couple of sentences that cut off for Annabelle. Alright, so I am gonna read this. So the nurse's boyfriend, the nurse and her friend invited a medium over who stated that the doll was inhabited by the spirit of a deceased 7-year-old named Annabelle Higgins. The doll, allegedly cursed by a demonic spirit, has been blamed for violent attacks and at least 2 near-death experiences. The allegedly haunted Raggedy Ann doll is kept in the Occult Museum, owned by paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, with the message under her glass case reading, "Warning, positively do not open." Alright, so there's that. Here's Winchester's finishing one, where she began renovation, an 8-room farmhouse, 3 elevators, 2 basements, and just 1, count 'em 1, shower. Tours are available to visitors. It makes sense though. Showers were not really like a thing back then. So I already read The Deliver Us from Evil. I wish they had more on that because I don't know what that's based off of. Other than the cops. We read The Conjuring. Okay, so the Possession one is actually pretty short, but The Possession came out in 2012. The Possession originated from an eBay listing for a Dybbuk box accompanied by a horror story written by its owner, Kevin Mannis. In Hebrew folklore, a Dybbuk is a malicious spirit that has the ability to haunt and possess the living. Okay, well, that's basically Poltergeist. No, I'm kidding. Interesting. Never seen it. Heard of the story, though, I think. That sounds familiar. Alright, we got The Right, 2011. Colin O'Donoghue stars as Michael Kovac, whose experiences are inspired by the real-life Father Gary Thomas, one of the 14 Vatican-certified exorcists working in the U.S. While studying in Rome, Thomas met journalist Matt Baglio, who wrote about Thomas's journey, The Right, the making of a modern exorcist. Thomas helped supervise the making of the film. Wait! Okay. Hold on. Father Gary Thomas? No, this can't be the same Father Thomas. Hold on. So there's anybody who's watched Unsolved or any of that knows. Oh my god, it is. That's amazing. So if you watched any of BuzzFeed Unsolved or BuzzFeed Supernatural with Ryan and Shane, one of their very first episode that they do ghost hunting in, is they go and they talk to Gary. Oh my god, I did not even know this was the same person. They go and talk to this man named, Father Thomas, and get some advice on ghosts and the spookiness. That is so cool that they got to go and speak to him about this. They don't mention in, or do they? Maybe they do. In Supernatural, they don't mention that this movie is based off of his experiences. That's pretty cool. He seems like a real chill, nice dude. Seems like a good man. He's very sweet to Ryan and Shane when they go and visit him, from what I remember of that episode. Neat. Cool thing to learn. I'm going to have to put that on my list. Alright, we got The Haunting in Connecticut, which was released in 2009. In 1986, the Snedeker family rented a home in Connecticut that turned out to be a former mortuary. Well-known demonologists Ed and Lorraine Warren declared the home to be overrun by demons. The experiences of the Snedeker, I'm probably saying that wrong, I'm so sorry, family provide the inspiration for what happens to the Campbell family in The Haunting in Connecticut. Stuck, 2007. Now, I did read this one ahead of time just because I was interested. This is kind of weird. I don't even know. I mean, it's interesting. Okay. After committing a hit and run where the victim becomes lodged in the windshield, a young nursing assistant named Brandy Minasuvari tries to figure out her next course of action. Brandy is based on Shantae Jawan Mallard, a Texan woman who hit Gregory Glenn Biggs, a homeless man, and left him embedded in her windshield until he died. She was convicted and sentenced to 50 years in prison for her crime. How is that a hit and run? Like, did she just keep driving? I'm gonna have to look into that one. Did she just keep driving, though? Because that's crazy. Alright, the next one is Borderland, 2007. Ryder Strong and Sean Astin star in Borderland, a film that centers on 3 friends who head down to Mexico to celebrate their college graduation, but stumble upon a cult that practices human sacrifice. The film is loosely based on the life of Adolfo Costanzo, an American-born serial killer and cult leader who moved to Mexico City as an adult, where he met friends who would become his future followers. All right. Fantastic. On Blackwater, 2007. What begins as a family vacation to the mangroves of northern Australia ends up with a crocodile attack and a fight to survive in Blackwater. The marketing for the film so that it was based on real-life events, and to an extent that's true. The movie is inspired by a crocodile attack that happened in northern Australia in 2003. The film used footage of real crocodiles and some CGI to create the vicious monsters portrayed in the embellished story. Crocodiles, though, kind of scary. The Exorcism of Emily Rose in 2005. The story of Emily Rose is loosely based on that of Anneliese Michel, a young German woman who underwent an exorcism and later died from malnutrition and dehydration. Her parents and the priest involved were charged with negligent homicide following her death. This is director Scott Derrickson's first exorcism movie based on real-life events. Interesting. Also, I've never seen that. Open Water, 2003. I don't think I've seen any of these so far. Open Water, I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street, to be fair. A couple left behind in the open ocean after their scuba diving group left without them isn't just the premise of Open Water, but the real story of Tom and Eileen Lonergan? Yeah, the Lonergans were tourists visiting Australia's Great Barrier Reef when they were left behind on January 25th, 1998. Experts doubt the Lonergans shared the same fate as the characters in the film, but the couple was never found. I wonder... That one's interesting. And the ones that are like the animal ones, like the crocodile one and this one, it's just like, yeah, that's a thing, though, that could actually happen. And, as much as I'm like, the paranormal ones, I do believe in some of them. Sorry, my gut bounced a little there. I do believe in some of them, but at the same time, I'm like, gotta take it all with a grain of salt. But these ones are, like, really scary to me, not because of how, I just feel like it's the more possible or plausible, the scarier it is, Okay. Monster in 2003. Charlize Theron won 17 awards, including an Oscar for her portrayal of former prostitute turned serial killer Eileen Wuornos. Wuornos was convicted on 6 counts of first-degree murder, though there was a 7th victim, and was executed in Florida in 2002. Again, a serial killer I don't know a lot about, so love that. May have to look her up someday. Do some talking on her. Dahmer in 2002. Jeremy Renner, who is way too hot to play Jeffrey Dahmer, just saying, plays well-known serial killer and rapist Jeffrey Dahmer in the 2002 biopic. Though the crimes portrayed are real events, the victims' names were changed. The Dahmer story was also portrayed in the 2017 film My Friend Dahmer, with Ross Lynch starring as the serial killer. Evan Peters also portrayed Dahmer in the 2002 Netflix series Dahmer, Monster, The Jeffrey Dahmer Story. Fantastic. Jeremy Renner, too hot to be Dahmer. Just saying. He's not that attractive. Like, everyone talks about Jeffrey Dahmer and they're like, but he was so good looking. He wasn't. He was not. Like, yes and no. He was just a dude. And I know it's been talked about a lot, especially the more we see about these things, the more we kind of start to realize that we build up these people who are serial killers in our head as these big monsters, and they're scary, and we expect them to look like monsters, but they look like people. I'm sorry. It's how it is. Anyway, Things Heard and Seen 2021. I've also never seen any of the Dahmer films. But I would probably find those interesting. Anyway, Things Heard and Seen 2021. In the Amanda Seyfried starrer Things Heard and Seen, a Manhattan couple moves to a historic hamlet where they discover that their marriage had sinister secrets involving their new home's history. The film was based on the 2016 novel All Things Cease to Appear by Elizabeth Brundage. The novel and film are loosely based off of alleged supernatural experiences in a home Brundage and her husband rented. There you go. Now, this one I was surprised to see on the list, but kind of love that it's here. The Birds, 1963. Daphne du Maurier's The Birds, which honestly you should just put Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds, because that's the famous person involved. I mean, not that the actress is, not that she shouldn't be credited, I'm just saying. The Birds short story may have been that's the person who wrote the story. My bad, jumped the gun. Open mouth, insert foot, I'm sorry. Short story may have been an inspiration for Alfred Hitchcock's 1963 film The Birds, but the film was reportedly based on real-life events. The film centers on a California coastal town that was terrorized by a flock of birds. In 1961, birds in the Monterey Bay area reportedly acted disoriented and rammed into people's houses due to an unknown cause. In 2011, it was reported that researchers found a toxin making algae in the birds that causes amnesia, disorientation, and seizures. So, they be swooping. It's not great. Scream, 1996. My bro. The 1996 original slasher film that would spawn a franchise was inspired by the Gainesville, Florida mutilations, in which several young people were murdered in the Florida community. After screenwriter Kevin Williamson watched a television special on the Gainesville murders, the story inspired what would be a script about a knife-wielding killer. And I guess he was watching a television special, but he was watching the news, as things were going down, as far as I could tell. So, he was watching, the court case and all that. But, So, that's Scream. I did do a whole episode on that. So if you want to hear more about that, go check that episode out. Poltergeist, 1982. The 1982 classic, co-written by Steven Spielberg, tells the story of a family whose home was built on a burial ground and plagued by its violent spirits. The premise of the story was based on the Herman family, who claimed that their Long Island, New York home was haunted by a poltergeist due to objects mysteriously flying around the house. The family, who eventually moved, believed the events were due to the home being near a Native American burial site. Now, Poltergeist, that's one of the ones I've seen. I love Poltergeist. That's such a good movie. I haven't seen the second one in a really long time, but it's a good movie. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, in 1974. It centered on the chainsaw murderer Leatherface, who is loosely inspired by the life and crimes of killer Ed Gein, also known as the Butcher of Plainfield, or Plainfield Ghoul. In the 1950s, Gein exhumed corpses from graveyards and made keepsakes from their bones and skin. Gein also had a history of wearing women's clothes, as Leatherface does in the original film. I did not know that. I've never seen Chainsaw Massacre just because I feel like it would be too overstimulating. The Strangers, 2008. Brian Bertino's 2008 film, which starred Scott Speedman and Liv Tyler, chronicled a terrifying home invasion. The story was inspired by real-life violent crimes, including the murders committed by the Manson family in the 1981 Ketty Cabin and the 1981's Ketty Cabin murders, in which 4 people were killed by 3 masked assailants in a California resort town. It was announced September 13th that The Strangers will be getting a reboot from Lionsgate, with Madeline Petch to star and Rennie Harlan directing. I would watch that. Though the Ketty Cabin murders and the Manson family are also quite terrifying to me. So, for, obvious reasons. Zodiac, 2007, obviously the chilling 2007 film starring Jake Gyllenhaal, was based on the Zodiac killer who was behind brutal murders in San Francisco throughout the 1960s and 70s. The killer who would also taunt police by sharing puzzles and coded messages through the press. The David Fincher film centered on political cartoonist Robert Graysmith, portrayed by Gyllenhaal, who spent decades obsessing over uncovering the identity of the killer. However, the Zodiac killer case remains unsolved. Which, that one is interesting. Zodiac is a very interesting case. I definitely recommend, if you don't know anything about it, you should go and check out. There are lots of podcasts that have covered it and everything, and I recommend any of them because they've all done a fantastic job. Alright, and I think this is the last one. This actually went longer than I thought it would. So The Exorcist, 1973, which I did actually know was based off a true story, or based off of / inspired by a true story, but I also have never seen it. I should just, this whole list, I should make myself watch all of the ones I haven't seen, which is most of them. So, The Exorcist continues to frighten audiences years after its 1974 debut, but the film's inspiration is just as chilling. The film's premise is based on the case of a 14-year-old boy known as Roland Doe. In 1994, it was reported that Doe was possessed by something sinister, and an exorcism was performed on him by priests. The exorcism reportedly had to be stopped because Doe ripped off and threw a piece of mattress spring at the priest. Red scratches would appear on Doe at a few days later, with marks spelling out Lewis. The circumstances surrounding Doe continue to be a mystery. So there you go. Those are some scary movies, spooky movies inspired by real events, real stories. I absolutely... Let's see, I'm going to go through and I'm going to see how many of these I've actually seen. So not seen Fire in the Sky, not seen the Amityville Horror, have seen Nightmare on Elm Street, never seen any of the Annabelles, never seen Winchester, never seen Deliver Us from Evil, never seen The Conjuring, never seen The Possession, never seen The Rite, never seen The Haunting in Connecticut, never seen Stuck, never seen Borderland, never seen Blackwater, never seen The Exorcism of Emily Rose, never seen Open Water, never seen Monster, never seen Dahmer, never seen Things Heard and Seen The Birds, seen Scream, obviously, seen Poltergeist, never seen The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, never seen The Strangers, never seen Zodiac, and never seen The Exorcist. So out of 25 movies on this list, I have only seen 4 of them. So I definitely need to expand my horror movie repertoire, I suppose. But I think that's gonna do it for today. This was fun. I really, like I said, I love the idea of spooky movies based on true events because I feel it makes them spookier and more fun to watch, and also wonder what is real and what is kind of changed to make it more interesting. But excuse me. Like I said, I think that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this episode. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed it, please remember to like, share, subscribe, rate me on Apple Podcasts, all that fun, good stuff that helps push this episode out there for other people to hear. And of course, as always, if you have any episode topics or ideas, I would love to hear them. Please send them my way. My various social media or ways of contacting me are in the description below. But once again, thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to I'm Already Looking It Up. This show is written, directed, edited, and produced all by me, Carly Kaufman. To show your support, please leave a review on Apple Podcasts, like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can also check out at Wild Forest Productions on Patreon, Tumblr, and Instagram, and Facebook. To find other ways to support the creator, check out at Empress Wild on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter /X, Facebook, TikTok, and also Instagram. And if you have any topic suggestions, feel free to throw them my way. Can't wait to see you in the next episode. Until then.